Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch with Lake Ridge, where we serve bite-sized pieces of community information that you can digest at your convenience. I'm Bernie Guthrie. I'm the General Manager of Lake Ridge Parks and Recreation Association, and we're located in eastern Prince William County. I will be your host for this segment. Today, we have Sergeant Nathan Thomas of the Prince William County Police Department Community Engagement Section. He's here to share valuable information with us about the Prince William County Police. Sergeant Thomas, thank you so much for joining us for lunch.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the Community Engagement Section of the Prince William County Police Department does?
Absolutely. It's funny. We used to be called the Crime Prevention Section, and that name got changed a number of years ago to reflect, the increased need and importance of the mission to reach out to the public, which was always something that was done here. So a lot of times I tell people, hey, we're the community engagement and crime prevention section because we still do both those roles. So I still have officers whose focus is on getting with the community and addressing ongoing issues, ongoing crime problems within communities or businesses or houses of worship, and offering security assessments and things like that. Yet we also do all the fun stuff where we get to go out into the community and interacting. We get paid, we're getting paid to go to some of these cookouts and events and things to help out the community. And then we have our own events. So basically forming those ties and being that friendly face for the community to look to as someone friendly in the police department they feel they can connect with and go to if they need something. So
you encourage the positive interactions and you handle the negatives sometimes, but
yeah,
focus on the positive. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
So I understand that policing is sometimes more of a calling than a profession. What did you envision that this job would be when you applied? What drew you to it?
So I was of the generation that was fresh out of high school and in the start of college. I was 18, 19 years old when 9/11 took place. September 11th. And I'd always wanted to be in law enforcement since I was probably about 5. And so 9/11 for me and a lot of the people of my generation kind of pushed me in that direction completely. At that point, I think a lot of us felt a need, kind of like our grandparents who were the World War II generation, to serve our country and our community. And we did it in different ways. So I have a twin brother. He was going into the Marine Corps already. And I can't do the same thing as him. So police work was where I gravitated. And I think I've seen it change a lot because I became a cop in 2005. And here we are in 2023. And policing and how policing is done and the views towards police departments and law enforcement in general has obviously drastically changed in that time frame. So maybe my views weren't so different when I went in, but they changed over time. And I've seen unexpected changes in perception of police departments and what we do that maybe had not expected before. But I think out of everything, you always have a preconception as to what policing is, and the reality is I would say a lot more challenging. But all good things have some sort of challenge to it. If you want to have a good outcome, there needs to be some challenge there. So I don't regret that. It just makes it more, more worthy of a cause to be involved in.
Yeah, friction does create a path forward. There is no doubt about that.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the favorite part of your day?
So I laughed when I hear that question because the immediate thing is, oh, I love going home at the end of the day and see my family, like anybody. I've got
your work day. How about that?
Yes, yeah, the end of the work day. But it's a joke. It is the answer because I love my family. I love being a dad. That's all us police officers. We're human beings. We're people outside of this job, and we have those jobs: husband or wife, mom or dad, and those jobs are always the most important. And sometimes because of what we do, they get a little bit neglected. But I'm a morning person. And I get up early and I, do my routine before I come in the morning. And I'm very energetic in the morning. I'm always at my best when my day starts. When I get in here and I see what the day has in store for me, and it usually has stuff I don't always expect. So I love coming in and tackling what's waiting for me and having that energy. And by about 2 o'clock, in all honesty, it usually starts, I start wearing out. But when I come in at 8 o'clock and we get going, that is one of my favorite parts of the day, is that start of the new day and seeing what challenges you got to overcome.
Right. So you don't start your day with coffee and donuts, I assume.
Yeah, I definitely coffee. My children have been raised to like donuts. I just try to limit how often I eat them. And yeah, usually I do a workout routine before I come in. I get up at 4 a.m. and I work out before I come in the morning. That kind of gets me going. So when I get here, I've been up a little bit. I'm not still sleepy. I'm ready to go.
Energy begets energy. That's the first thing that everybody needs to understand, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So as residents and citizens, we're kind of all responsible to do our part. What do you see as the role of the police department in community policing, and what can we do to work together to create safer neighborhoods?
Well, and I think together is the key word there, because as much as we'd like to, we get out in our communities as police officers as much as we can, but there's so many communities and there's so much things that we're called to go to that we can't be everywhere at once. So we rely heavily on our communities, like you all, to help us police where you live. And without that, without community members who take ownership of where they live and protect where they live, we can't do our job, and I can't tell you how many times crimes have been solved in this county in my career, thanks to good community members working with us, giving us information to do that. So, I mean, community policing is exactly what it sounds like. It's the members of all communities coming together to be the police, to work with us. And a police department can't function without community support. Our power is given by the community. So if we can't work together, then really nothing gets done. So we're very lucky. We have a very good county, very good residents who are very good about working with us, and that's any success we have is thanks to our community members.
That's great. So just out of curiosity, what are the most common types of crimes that happen in our area?
So most of what you'll see, and this is pretty common for I think most of Northern Virginia, the Metro DC area, you always have a lot of your petty typical thefts and larcenies, whether it's from vehicles, not typically from I'm not talking about burglaries to residences. We're talking like people going in people's cars. And we've had an ongoing issue for most of my career here, where we have different groups of people that will go through cars and take things out of people's cars. And in most instances, those cars are left unlocked. And if they're not, even in case there are a few instances where they're not left unlocked, and maybe a window gets broken, but people leaving valuables in those vehicles that are in plain sight, whether it's a purse or a wallet or money or a phone or just something that the person, the suspect can look in that vehicle and see there's something of value to take. So one of the biggest things that we've been trying to get out to the public messaging wise is, please lock your cars, lock your doors, take your valuables out of your vehicles, because that is such a chronic issue. And like I said, I've been here, it'll be 16 years in July. It's been an issue as long as I've been here. And there's only so many times we can push that out and say, please do this. At some point, the residents, they have to take that upon themselves. Obviously, it's our job to stop the criminals and do that part. But again, it is a partnership. And if we can get community members to take some proactive actions to dissuade some of these things, it'll help us crack down on it as well. So I would say larcenies are a big, larcenies from cars and autos is a big issue that we've been encountering.
Yeah, it seems like, there's prevention, and then, there's policing, which would be, active capture. So it sounds like the best thing that we can do is not provide the opportunity, put your car in the garage, that will certainly keep it secure. Make sure that you have it locked, make sure it's parked in an area maybe where it can be seen rather than, down a side street or something. It's not as well traveled. We're lucky that we have such a large number of pedestrians that patrol our streets with their pets, not knowing that they're actually providing a deterrent.
Yes.
Just walking their pets and enjoying the outdoors.
That is a deterrent. I mean, that they're, through, walking your, there's an old program called, the program called Walk and Watch, that is something that we're not the ones that branded that, but that's something we encourage people that, dog walkers, you serve as the unofficial neighborhood watch when you're walking your dogs or going for a walk around your neighborhood. Keep an eye out for that suspicious person that just, it might be up to no good.
Yeah, so you get your steps in and
Yep.
you prevent all at the same time. It's brilliant.
Exactly.
Social media has become such a part of something that we all see and feel. And unfortunately, the vehicle accidents, the shootings, all of those end up taking precedence on social media. So it's nice to hear that that's not, the majority, because when you read it, that's the way that it makes you feel is,
Right.
Oh my gosh, everybody's getting shot every day.
Right.
But when you drill down into the proportions and the ratios and the statistics, it's maybe not what as it's portrayed to be.
No, and I think something to keep in mind when it comes to the violent crime, because we do have violent crime in the county, but I wouldn't say it is definitely not like the leading thing that we have going on, obviously. Most of it's this petty crime. But when you look at those violent incidents, most of those incidents occur between people who know each other. And I think that's the key with the public to understand is that, we do have these violent incidents that happen in any jurisdiction, but they're most of the time they are between known associates. So these aren't something that the typical person that's living in your community is just going to randomly encounter that issue. I mean, these people are people that usually know each other that have these violent incidents happen.
Yeah, that's very true, very true. Are there any crime prevention programs or other training resources that are available to members of our community?
So we are responsible for our different watch programs. So you're probably familiar with Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch has been around for a long time. And we, through our unit, the community engagement section, we offer Neighborhood Watch training on a monthly basis. I believe our next training is around June 14th or 15th. It should be pushed out over our social media. It probably was just the other day pushed out. So I would encourage your people watching this to go on our Facebook or social media and look at what we have on there, and it should be on there. So we offer Neighborhood Watch training. Some people don't know if their neighborhood has a Neighborhood Watch, so we can tell you, hey, where do you live? We can look it up, and we can, if there is one there, we can tell you who the coordinator is and how to reach out to them. If you don't have one, well, we can work with you to get one established. Just like Neighborhood Watch, we have our Business Watch, which serves the same capacity as Neighborhood Watch, though with businesses. And we also have what's called Worship Watch, which is, again, just like Neighborhood Watch for houses of worship, because obviously those are concerns in the modern eras of violence at houses of worship. And then lastly, we have Fleet Watch, which is for anyone that has a fleet of vehicles. If you have a business with a fleet of vehicles, well, then we have a Fleet Watch to kind of, give you some tips and stuff to make sure that people aren't stealing from your vehicles. Catalytic converter theft has been on the rise nationwide lately. And so that Fleet Watch initiative is very important now more than ever because of that.
I didn't know that Fleet Watch was connected. I've seen the bumper stickers, but I didn't.
Yes, we are working, and you probably will see it at some point this year, to kind of do a little bit more of a push with Fleet Watch because of the increase in catalytic converter thefts, to just kind of get the messaging out there. Because like you said, people see the bumper stickers, but I think we can do better at messaging that specific watch program. So I would hope by the end of this year, you see or hear a little bit more about it.
Oh, great. So since we have just a couple minutes, I wanted to talk about some of the calls that we get. Obviously, some people don't know, exactly what an association does, and they don't know exactly where the police cover. Everybody always thinks violent crime is when you call the police. So we receive a lot of complaints about speeding and really drivers not obeying traffic signals at all, just completely running a red light. Is there any way to report these concerns so that we could get maybe a little bit of help in monitoring those intersections or those streets?
Absolutely. There is a traffic line, and I know that is listed on our website. But I would also, you can always call a non-emergency number, which is 703-792-6500. That will give you their dispatch, a police dispatch. And you can always report a complaint through there. But if it's a long ongoing issue, I would encourage you to reach out to our police station and maybe speak with a supervisor or somebody who's working to let them know that there's an ongoing issue, or even reach out to us and we can pass that message on. Because I always tell people, if you can't reach people you need to talk to in the police department, you can always come through us and we'll make sure that message gets relayed. And just report what the issue is, what's going on. And we can, as a department, deploy resources to that specific area and try and help with the enforcement, maybe put our motor officers at an intersection where people are running the red light, or have patrol officers when they're not busy on taking calls for service, sit at a stop sign that people are constantly going through. When they're maybe writing a report, they can just sit there for maybe 30 minutes or whatever time they've got. So absolutely, those are some ways to reach out to us for those complaints.
There's typically a pattern when it, early in the morning, late in the, there's typically a pattern that's related to traffic issues for sure. So do you actively work with VDOT for traffic calming measures, or do you basically each operate in your own silo?
So I would say dealing with VDOT, when you're on patrol or in a patrol assignment, you're dealing with VDOT on a case-by-case basis when things come up. I would say members of our Special Operations Bureau, which are your units such as the Crash Investigation Unit, who are the officers trained to come out for severe, usually fatal crashes. And that's where our motor officers, who do a lot of traffic enforcement, they work out of the Special Operations Bureau. Some of their supervisors deal with VDOT on a more regular basis for ongoing issues that are taking place within the community. So yeah, I would say the supervisors in that unit specifically work regularly with VDOT over different traffic issues throughout the county.
That's good. So now we know we don't have to report it twice.
Right. Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they should usually, because there are instances where sometimes there's multiple agencies involved. If we're, with it could be VDOT, the police department, and the local county supervisor addressing an issue. So that does happen.
Oh, great. So our next, it's always vehicles and pets. So the question that you probably already received 20 times this week is, we get a lot of concern about dogs, whether they're roaming loose, they're perceived aggressive, people not picking up after their pets. What do you feel are the best tactics for tackling those situations?
So I obviously I approach it like I would when I'm in charge of if I'm in charge of a patrol squad. You try and handle little things at the squad level, and then if there are bigger issues arising, well, then you have to start bringing in other people. So I would say it's the same with the community. First work with your neighbors if you can, and try and find a resolution. And if you can't work with your neighbor to find a resolution, then maybe at that point bring it to the homeowners association and see if maybe an intermediary at that level can assist. And if things become really out of hand, well, then obviously at that point, whether it's the police department or our branch, which is our animal control, can be contacted at that point to explain what the issue is. Now, obviously, if it's an issue putting people in immediate danger, well, please call us right away. So if you've got a vicious dog on the loose that's attacking people, call 911 and we'll get out there. Because we're not going to, we'll typically respond with animal control, but there's usually more police officers working on a given day than animal control officers. You might have a few covering a large area for animal control. So usually we'll be the first ones to get there. So in an emergency situation where there's people's at danger for being injured, call the police for that dog that's on the loose, and we'll make sure we get that dog, in custody and then turned over to animal control at that point. For a little bit of the more, I don't want to say petty, because that petty makes it seem like it's nothing, but people having, letting dogs poop in other people's yards and stuff. There is an ordinance against that. It is a fine. And folks, if it's an ongoing issue, can speak with the county magistrate about that code section and about if they want to try and get a fine issued. But I would really encourage for people with those issues to try and work with the community. And obviously we can serve as a mediator in those issues, but we try not to get involved at those lesser issues. But a dog that's violent or causing a danger to the community, that's obviously something we want to make sure we can jump in and help if it's not being resolved.
Well, what about the other random, I don't know if you've seen the news, Stafford County had a bear that was hanging out in the tree in the middle of a shopping center parking lot, just one afternoon, enjoying the weather. Would that be police or animal control?
So
Or-
I would just call the, call the police. Call the police in that instance, because what's going to happen? You brought back an old memory for me. I once had the dispatcher, because we would get sent to wildlife calls, especially on the west end of the county, and I got sent to a bear on a deck, and the dispatcher, knowing that I'm not a very tall or big guy, said maybe you can scare it over the radio so everyone can hear it. But yeah, in those situations, we're going to go out and see if we can spot the animal, the bear, or whatever it may be. And then we'll call animal control. Then we'll work with, whoever at whatever level it takes to get that issue resolved. So please, in those issues, you can call us and let us know, and we'll work with the appropriate agencies to make sure we get out there and, do what we can to resolve that issue, not leave that bear in a tree, scaring all the locals.
And that's pretty much what happened. I think a lot of people stopped shopping in that shopping center that
Yeah, I
day.
wouldn't blame them.
Bears are definitely creatures of habits, for sure. We do have a few places around here, people who raise bees and of course produce honey, so
Yes.
just attract them.
Yes.
That's great. I love your story.
Thank
So
you.
in closing, I have just one more question. So what can we do to show our support and our appreciation of the police department's efforts to serve and protect our community? What can we
There's
do?
there's kind of a very different ways for us, and it doesn't have to be any grand gesture. Like I said, I've been a cop since 3-4 years after 9/11 to now, and obviously a lot's changed. And when I became a cop, it was a very positive feeling towards first responders, thanks to the brave men and women on 9/11. And we've lost some of that due to some of these incidents nationwide. But I think I feel like we're starting to make our way back from that, thanks to conversations with our community members and just getting to know each other. So I tell you, it means the world to people, to our officers, for people just to say, hey, thank you for what you do. Or, just that simple, if you see us out and about, just say hi, talk to us, be friendly, thank them. It means the world.
We just appreciate you, right?
Yes, yeah, just letting these officers know that you appreciate them. Because they're dealing with people, they might be getting screamed at for half the day by different people. So to have someone come up and just say, hey, I really appreciate you being out and working, especially if it's on a weekend, they're away from their family or friends for a holiday. Otherwise, we have people all the time dropping food off at the stations. It could, simple acts like that always are meaningful. I mean, these officers sometimes don't have time to have a meal, and stopping by the station to drop off paperwork, and they see something sitting there, at least they can get something to eat. That always means something. And then on a larger level, I would say people can advocate for us with our county board of supervisors and with our politicians to work on laws and things that would be supportive of our efforts and our crime fighting efforts in the community and of the police department. So those are all kind of 3 different ways to kind of approach it.
We have a fantastic group of residents in this community, and they are always willing to step up and do whatever they can to help. And they do recognize the trickle down effect. If you start at the top and you start working for change, then it will trickle down and it will benefit them in their everyday life. So
Yes.
and being positive for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's really what a police department is, or should be, is just a constant force of positive change and protection. I mean, our job is number one, straight out to protect the public, and is meant, so that's our sacred duty. I mean, our badge is our shield, and the shield's meant to should be a symbol of protection, and that's what it is. It's our promise to the community that we're here to protect you. So absolutely.
Wow, I couldn't have said that sentence any better.
Thank you.
Sergeant Thomas, thank you so much for taking time to share these nuggets of information with us. We hopefully look forward to having you come back and maybe dish up some more information soon, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Just call me.
I will. And in closing, as Helen Keller once said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So Lake Ridge, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see everyone in our next episode.